Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum.
Good morning. Thế đó ngã cho ta jikten di nang la che bare ten du ta ta jikten di nang la ji du ki samre ngã cho jikten di nang la ji je chabi je la tene yang samre ngã cho ji lu ki to ne ji ki snaya ta thega na ye ke ji ran ye ke 거다 지 맞아 제타 고 겐로야 텐디 용구요래라 티가나 얘기요 지금 같은 3례 sem지 넘버 똑바 뭐뭐지라 때네 양 고디스 갈색보다 아직 샘툭스너리 강다 디스페 인컴포터블로 차지 거지다베 지고든지 메와 차기 어려워 티엔두다 티양티니 지 루라 나sam메와 가샤야한다고 당 티가나 이게 지가 주다 게야 메죠 텐디바지 가샤야도 참샤샤한다고 티가나 이게 지 셈지게 다 넘버 또와 그래서 양지 마치야 가샤한다고 텐디 용구요 말와
So in general, having been born into this world, existing, in this, or being, having taken birth in this world, then we are all subject to a certain degree of suffering, which is inevitable. We have the confines of the physical body, and so it is inevitable that at some point in time or another, we will experience illness, that the body will become sick. And also, it is inevitable that we experience the breaking down of the body or the process of aging. And so these, and in addition to this, we also have the arising of thoughts. We have all of the mental chatter, which sometimes causes disturbance in the mind, which causes us to feel uncomfortable. And so we can't expect to be able to block or avoid illness. We can't expect to be able to block or avoid the process of aging. Likewise, we can't expect to block or avoid the arising of thoughts, the arising of thoughts or discursive thoughts in the mind.
Yina yang ta nga ji other hand ro be nga lucky re karindu sena yang ta tso ka to ya yo mari ti yina yang ta nga ngone thane ji sem ki dungin jung yun sem ki ji number to wa yuna re lu ki tan kont hyuwa na ji re ji na gu yuna re tiga na ji ke ta ji ko gen ro ya so yo re ti yina yang ko tindi ki ji wang mando wa 다 야효디 담배주 냠내치야 이 말이에요. 다 담배주 냠내치들이 같이 거스나 맞고 꼼자야. 그러와 대가 나기 있겠다 냠내치야 차디요. 뒤인도 냠내치야 뒤게 가서 내가병 뭐네 전에 내당이 공주가 나기리 지 룰은 나차 미우야기 100% 가투고 말이 되네요. 나차 나 데베 까올라 등이 텐디메와 용투고요래. 대가 나기 게 지금 냠렌당 곰 냠렌 집이나 되네 지 당이 공주가 나기리 nga zu be aging sama ka to ya yo mari ti yin yang ji gom nyam le tindi gi la teni ko lu tang sem ke chile de la ko mari ta na ste ta na di o tindi indu tene ji sem ke gom nyam le de la teni ya lu le pe ji ko ge ya la dis ko slor cha ya wa ko lu ki kon dang tizung do da chi dang gom jang ya de zo da chi dang 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 sna ya ren do gres da tindi ji nga zo chi tu gu yo na mi na ha ko mari di yin yang ko nga zo gom nyam le chi ba zang ji ke ji ko lu le de wo yong ya ro lu de wo yo ge ka la tene nga zo chi ge ya se ya de ko da 100% ka to mari yin yang ko ji slow cha to gu yo res tindi indu nor du shu wi na da ji ne kap dang ne kap ke 지 대화 타속이 지가 내내 대반로 세너리 지 상지 코모토야디 맞죠 락차 세너리가 맞죠 차상지 요바리 딘데인도 태양한테네 지금 맞죠 대 가르세나 지 자왕오마 세너리 야나 신디 세너리 딘데기 지레 개개와 사샤위 킨지부터 대간나기기 지원에 몰람 보다 딘디기 구주체 뭐보지할 때네 맞죠 단다 트리지 토비오리 opportunity 텐디 태양한테 맞죠지 텔레양 지 가와지 쪼바지 태양 고지 다 트랭장 많이 봐지 윤투닝에 트리치고 어서마다 좋은 거 좋던디 상주 몰람 단 몰람 잡이어와 어다 대차디오레스
But Sumpati Chirang Lapio Samarawati Simgi Namto. Okay. So on the other hand, we're also very lucky. We're very fortunate because even though these things are inevitable, it's inevitable that we have thoughts arising in the mind. It's inevitable that the body might experience illness at some point in time or another. It's inevitable that we undergo the process of aging. But with the tools that we have available to us through spiritual practice, through practicing the Dharma, we can experience those inevitabilities without completely falling under their power. And the best method for this is practice, Dharma practice and meditation in particular. And so when we practice, when we meditate, it's not a guarantee that we can overcome. In some cases, we may in fact be able to avert illness, but it's not 100% sure that we will be able to pacify our physical illness. We may not be able to block it or stop or transform or pacify it, but we can significantly diminish the suffering that we feel, the suffering that we go through in that process of illness. Likewise, with aging, we can't stop aging. It is inevitable that we will age, but based on meditation, we can greatly diminish the suffering of that process, and we can in fact even slow it down to some extent. When we meditate, because of the developing meditative absorption, there is a kind of blissful sense of well-being and ease that pervades the body. And the more that we practice, then the more there is this pervasive sort of sense of well-being and bliss, blissful abiding. So in such a way that really through the process of aging, there's really not physical suffering in that process. Instead, it becomes one is still sustains this blissful ease and sense of well-being. And so the suffering becomes much less. There's sort of like a glow that can develop, and we can actually slow the process down. And so in this way, through meditating, through practice, we create both the causes for temporary happiness for ourselves, and then of course also we create the conditions for achieving the ultimate unchanging happiness of liberation and awakening. So this is really like our kind of passport, our ticket to ultimate temporary and ultimate happiness. And it could have only, having a connection with the Dharma in this way could have only come about through a great deal of virtue and merit accumulated in former lives. And so that merit is now ripening for us in this life. So it's important that we do everything that we can to continue that stream of merit, going forward. And so with that in mind, we continue to recite aspiration prayers and engage in practice and meditation. And in particular, these aspirations, like this aspiration prayer for exalted or noble conduct, are extremely powerful, and they're both having the ability to connect with such powerful aspiration prayers with great blessing is both the result of good karma and a great deal of merit, and it also becomes the condition for creating further positive karma and merit.
어떻게 가서 샘게 다조 남토래 티인두 다조 응야 당기 공슈나 이래 고 남토 매와 소용야 요 말이 티네야 당가조 조 체교게 고 남토게다 님보디 담배 추도 바티 말이 티인디다 추도야 코랑라 원데 좀네 야보리 근데 자침보리 시요 말이다 고 강사 소소게지 가르냠내 치고나 치요와 안 되요래 다 냠내 집이 기니까라 좋은 것은 냠내 치야게 고파 줌센 다 대가나 데카리슬라비나 나초다 강예지 연구요래 동예지 연구요래 강예 동예디 가리 연구요래세나 폐체다 직자자 다 둔준다고 제디 조 샘기 때문에 용되고 요래 디인도 다 디년벌 줄와디 당가서 추냐나 책이 요러와 디인도 다 샘기 때문에 용거리 있어야 돼 가리기 용거리 라비나 당가서 참래 고 해당지 예비 깔라 양 고디스 지오메 원다고 참래 차도 집이 깔라 양 주시다 메원다 메와다 대가 나기게 당가서 지 대와 직착화 온도바 전부 드리지에 깔라 양 선지고 매와 어다 드리지에게 젠치도 땅아서 선지고 매와 연구요래 드리인도 땅아서 추념는 지위내 깔라 당 공투가 나기에 추념는 지치 땅아지 공기 점이 다 배용 뭐 정배 가셔 요새야 되다 연구 말이 뒤에는요 그년보티 가스는 거 추념는 지위에 내 깔라 당 공투가 나기에 제랑서 사로지 갈공군의 제발 연마티 이내야 티 추념의 집이 내가 들어가라 고지 배는 용몽바 티크 왕도 만도와 티가나 이게 지 템바당 희인게 그 제신에 지 용몽바 집에 깔라 야 템토바 그러와 어떤디 지 용몽바제 티는 들렸대니 고지 용모바 지비게 다 주 디게 되는 지금 제외야 마치 연구요로 봐 어떤 드니지 얘기 지하대 개체모래
So then when it comes to the suffering that's produced by all of the thoughts, the concepts and thoughts that are constantly filtering through the mind or running through the mind, we can't expect those thoughts to just go away. We can't expect that through Dharma practice we'll suddenly be free of discursive thoughts. But the main thing is that through Dharma practice, we can then we do have a means that becomes the antidote to the suffering that is often perpetuated or created by those thoughts. And so the gangsa so garanyamlinche. So
제발이 김은 너 수요가 강소다 고치냐면 같이 그 주직들 게터기가 제발야 말했어.
so whatever Dharma practice that one engages in, whatever one's particular focus and practice is fine. It all sort of serves the same purpose. So it really actually doesn't matter what practice it is that one does, what deity one meditates on, or what type of meditation that one does. But it's important to understand that the reason why we need practice is because so much of our suffering, about 70% of it, really comes from the attitude of the mind. It really comes from, our mental our mental state, or our mind. It all really depends on the mind. And so when we practice Dharma, this is what enables us to gain awareness about what is really going on in the mind, to start to understand the processes that unfold in the mind, which actually end up causing us suffering. So we start to identify the way in which our afflicted mind states are producing suffering. When we have aggression, resentment, or anger in the mind, then we are unhappy. When we have jealousy in the mind, we are unhappy. When we have fixation and attachment in the mind, or strong desire, we are unhappy. And so these afflictions really cause the lack of well-being that is really a source of suffering for us. And so when we practice the Dharma, when we meditate, even though we may not be able to put an end to the thoughts that arise or the afflictive emotions that arise, we can at least bring awareness to them. And so through, whatever practice that we do, whatever deity that we meditate upon, whatever practice it is, it should be assisting us or helping us to strengthen our awareness of what is really occurring in the mind, and also it should be helping to us to not fall under the power of the afflictive emotions that arise. And the key to that is the strength of our mindful awareness. So the stronger our mindful awareness, the more clearly we see. And as an afflictive emotion arises, in the moment that it arises, even if we cannot prevent, the arising of that emotion, we can see it clearly. We can hold it with awareness. And as long as we are holding it with an awareness, then there will not be a fruition that comes from that afflictive emotion.
어다 대가 나지 땅가서 곰냠래 지 송글와 달라고 땅가서 제당한데 가서 계산도 줄라고요와 가르스나 벤 generation state 더러와 completion state 세야데 칼라고요 슬라비나 지 냠래 지비 drain the practice time 라 가르스나 지금 가서 지금 지켄디 차야는 요번도 티스 마인 바지 그러와 지켄디 차야 요거 마인 바스도 칼라고요 라비나 근데 지금 거네 단에 지배 샘 희와 그러와 샘 랑와 샘 희에 샘 희와 당랑와 세야 돼 칼라고서나 단기지 용문 받아서 지기 요나양 지기 왕도 만도와 대가 나지 지 용문 받 지와 될라 고지 누파매와 고데라와 랑예스로 랑라 yendo와
Wait, nyomong nupa meba?
누파매바 Samsung 같은
rang
용몽 걸
shin.
따비나 되네 고랑예 랑 예로 코랑 naturally displayed 봐. 뭐 든디지 컨트롤도야데 개체물이 starting the different state level 야데 가서는지 맞아 ordinary 지 지캔디 차장 조금 많이 봐지 든디지 만다버지 고기요레스.
So when it comes to Dharma practice and meditation, for instance, in the practices of the generation stage and the completion stage, these really differ. The state of the mind, it's like a different way of being, a different state of being from worldly activities. It really differs. The mind goes into a different way of abiding than how it ordinarily does, in like worldly activities and so forth. So it really differs from ordinary worldly activity in that way. The mind drops into a state of peaceful abiding. The mind naturally settles. And even when afflictive emotions arise, one does not become entangled with them. One does not fall under the power of those afflictive emotions. And so therefore, the afflictive emotions are really rendered powerless. And there are different stages of development in meditative absorption and cultivating meditative absorption, but eventually also those afflictive emotions are naturally pacified in their own place. They are liberated of their own accord merely through the power of sustaining strong awareness. And so it's important to develop these increasingly kind of deepening levels of meditative absorption, really understanding how these states differ from the state of the mind in ordinary worldly, kind of like the ordinary worldly mind or mind of worldly activities.
오다 된다 되네 가서 가장다 텔레노리 카르바시아 되다 티도나 디스 참샤 요로와 텐두다 기타 카르바시아 되라 가장디 다 카르바시아 지당 다 테니 람득사리 화르케시아 마르다 카르바시아 지 요레스 카르바텔라 나센도 치비나 테니 차비케 카르바 네비케 카르바 똥비케 카르바 차니 말반다 제비 카르바로 제비 카르바 테 똥바 똥창 치네 카야메바 치네 시두 타 카르바텔라 테네 카르바 체크나 카르첸 체크나 테네 타 화르케스야들 화르케 헤요레스 타 화르케 틴디 리레나나야 말이 다 되고 있어 말이 카르바세야텔라 말 카르첸직라 스타 카르바직와 카르첸직라 테네 카르바세야 헤요레스 헤 당했단다 라바나기와 차네인지 동세 오다디 양 카르바레 틴디 리레나나 테네 타 파르케니 휴니히로 요레스.
So we left off last week discussing the periods of time which are called kalpas in Tibetan, which is sometimes translated as eon, but it doesn't actually mean exactly the same thing. So one great kalpa, so there's the sort of biggest chunk of time is what we refer to as a great kalpa. And each great kalpa has 4 phases. So it has a phase of becoming or formation, a phase of
네바
abiding or sort of the abiding duration, a phase of destruction, and then a phase of just having been completely emptied or remaining completely empty. And so within each of those phases, there are 20 intermediate kalpas, making 40 intermediate kalpas or 80 intermediate kalpas in total. So 80 intermediate kalpas in one great kalpa.
That in the Tangatutila, that and the district Nijilam Nantisari, Tangatutila, Garbacha, Sia, Garbanjay, Sia, Tita, Tinipote, Kichio Chadio, that Nesia, Tonsia, the country Jagas, Yomarwa, Yomares.
So the most kind of important periods of each great kalpa are the period of formation and the period of destruction. So that's kind of occurs according to a particular process. Apart from that, there isn't much variation when it comes to the period of duration and the period of having been emptied out, or the period of kind of emptiness.
다 페제면 단다된 가서 다 깔바 똥바스 드린 고조는 약살이다. 깔바 제바스 해야 돼. 다 제바스 해야 될 가른 제기리 세나 제당 단다다 깔바 제글란 제바 코랑라 파르키니 시탄바 요르와. 디인드 다 주지 심전 지야 달라. 되네. 파르키 줄금고 그레스. 줄글와 닌디.
So kapa tongpa kapa jikpala bargi.
Takarban jigba kono harki nishi yorwa. Sama harki nishi yorwa ta. Nebala nishi yore, jigba nishi yore tene. Inata, nasun jigba tala. Start are talking about this destruction wa. Destruction de la karsna karbati la harki nishi yores. Ta kanin jigyala ni yores.
Oh yeah.
Juji simchen jig seya jigdan.
And no.
No jikten seya ni yungu yores. Tene 주지 심전지야 달라 두조 간진 거래서나 되네 화르키 줄군고 그래스
주구. Okay.
되네 노진 직텐지야 화르키 쟁고 그래스 되네 이시와.
So in the period of destruction, which has 20 intermediate kalpas, there's two phases. There's the destruction of the sentient beings therein, or the inhabitants, kind of the emptying out of the inhabitants or sentient beings. And then there's the destruction of the outer container, or which is the universe. And the destruction or the emptying out of sentient beings occurs for 19 of those 20 intermediate kalpas. And then the destruction of the outer container, the universe, occurs for one intermediate kalpa.
디니단 지칸텔라 간디스 지기리 라당가선 직사 간디스 자체중도 자체중도 가르 쓰고서나 맞어 디단 지야 단다 깔바 딜린지야데 고 체기로와 가르세다 사이즈 how size 가리거스나 되는 가서다나 똥 테리데 가르세데 테르와 직텐스 똥섬 직텐스 야다 Hare ta karla gorsana ngatsotela teroa
Chung ding dong chi.
no temare tongsom tela mata te no standard kasuna ngatsun jikenda dongkham sungkham suminkham sia tela ta jachejung terit chadi yores benata ngatsun dongkham ro cha shabina tene ngatsota right to yorwa right to tsugi yore tene sungkham labdu ta samthen hitzinan degiri khanda sungkham tela sungkham niri judun yore tene suminkham tela niri te suminkham tela tene ta niri hi yorwa 보다 뒤에 자체중도 오지 지나 맞아 뒤에 저거리 다 이거 something 히바당 근데 단다 수민 감도도 이제 톡 말와 일단 직시 기윤도 오지나 다 되게 보여서 직시 유대 something 순반에 뒤에 가서다 직텐디 기미 여러 인지를 그냥 양제 노그레스
Also, jibane
순반
zugmekam
순반에
re yene yang jibane zugmekam kong
이제
jigdo
요 말에
gomane de gadu yena.
something 오 가두는 지금 말와
Okay. Dene de chudo de zukamla yo chudo yore la songe de ji yore samsong ji yore wa.
히요로 something 히라고 그래 이나야 순감 일이 줍든지도 줍든요로 와
Oh, de zugdang zugme niga
말이
gare
말이
chudun chudun gare yore.
디 something 히라 지나 줍든요레 순감 일이 줍든스
Oh, la song.
수민 감라 히요레스
Okay.
근데 가서 넌 감라 레투요로 와
So so then the way that this process of destruction happens, also the universe that is as it is, or the sentient beings therein that are destroyed are, or that are emptied out, are the beings of the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. So the desire realm includes all of the 6 classes of sentient beings. And then the form realm includes the four dhyanas, or sometimes in Pali, if you're familiar with the jhanas, that's the realms that are associated with the 4 stages of meditative concentration or absorption, which are called the 4 dhyanas or the 4 jhanas in Pali, and then the 4 formless realms. And so when the beings are emptied out, they are actually emptied out all the way from all of the 6 realms, so all of the desire realm up to the 3rd level of meditative concentration, or the 3rd dhyana.
되네 something 히바네 되네 순감 수민 감도 지금 말이스
But from the 4th dhyana to the last of the formless realms are not destroyed or not emptied out.
어따티는 지그두이트 칸데스 지그레 슬라비나다 티네 야한제 누구다 야한제 시리다 베능가서다 당보네 가서 동감텔라 당가서 렉토 지그와 렉토 지두 직토리존 방야손 솜 지그거래다 토리존 지두 라당 슬미당 티네 메치 티네 당야손 솜 지두 톤도 예다 니아와 스티기어와 디엔두다 당보데 가르세나 당보 순지기리세나 니아르비 키스미켄도 참마테네 제와 힘발랜도 그래서 다 코란송가 힐레조 테네 니아르비 키스미켄도 참마야 톤도온다고다 만다고다 테네 야사한다고 제발레 칼레 테네 고니아르비 키스미켄나 마 제야메와차 제야메비 준친도 그래서 마 제기 말이스 캬둔 고주 그래서나 다들 destruction start 같이 그래서나 근데 니르비 기나래 제야 메비 투지려나 근데 destruction 된 고조 주고요레스 근데 다 니르비 나나 때고 니르비 나나 제 근데 니르비 나래 타 근데 꼬라자데 그러와 딘디 마임바 근데 니마지 같이 그래서나 니르비 나나 제야 메본 고주 그래스 근데 니르비 나나 서버 제야 요 말이 닝바 요거 참마트니 고 두수단 고그로 와 있는데 근데 닝바도 참다 제가 힘발이 안 오고 그래스.
So the way that it happens is that the destruction occurs, or the emptying out of sentient beings occurs from the lowest to highest. So so first it's the desire realm, the 6 classes of sentient beings that are emptied out, and in particular, so the 6 classes of sentient beings being gods, demigods, humans are the 3 higher realms, and then the 3 lower realms are that of the animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. So the emptying out happens first with the hell beings in the lowest level of the hell realms. And the way that it happens is that eventually, there reaches a point in time where beings are no longer being reborn in hell. And so gradually, as the lifespan of the hell beings who have already taken birth there becomes exhausted, then it becomes, there are fewer and fewer beings in the hell realms until eventually they're emptied entirely. And so what
So
happens
those
is that those beings, the karma of those beings has been exhausted, and then they take rebirth in the higher realms, or the subsequently higher realms. So they may take rebirth according to their karma at that point, either as an animal or maybe as a human or hungry ghost, or so they
or God.
or God. Yeah.
So telama sonda di ina ta kadun go zu gres distraction se ya ti kadun go zu gres na simchen yarbe na che ya me wa tne ta go zu gres distraction go zu gres. Okay, donc pour distraction se ya te
So chinugi, destruction.
mari 당보 나 심chen 참마 me wa cha go ro tne chi no jin ji kan me wa cha go wa. 다 나주 심chen me wa cha ya ta nga kan ta karwa ji nicht tamba yor wa. nicht tamba de da the distraction go kadu zu gre lamna. yarbe na la simchen che ya me wa sam hya ba tne go zu gres.
So when this destruction of the levels of sentient beings occurs is when there are no longer beings to be reborn in the hell realms, because all of their karma has been exhausted, or no?
So the distraction, so we said we don't know. So sometimes which is distraction start, when they stop the distractions. So because the first day inner sentient beings is distraction. So the distraction, they start, when they start is, so they stop in born in hell.
When they stop being born in hell.
Right, so that's then they start, distraction start. What that tell you about? What that tinichine, ta ya yang jeng do gris, tine ta nyarwa to tomba cha, nyarwe ji le da tomba cha. Tine yida ne tunro tomba cha. Gris.
And so it happens in this way in successive order. So once the hell beings have been fully emptied out, then the realms of hungry ghost beings start to empty out, and then the animals.
Tene also human being. Ta human being la karcha gorsena. Also lenghe yorwa. Ta lenghe la xiaolun po xiongzamblen no hwana ju chang dominions. Also lenghe yores.
Di tampo la bayina yagre gain sanad ki ming di zo chune hakuma song. Charlu papo.
Ta te mende na yo ta wa.
Re yene yanga bukela la kerwa nga inchikela la gyomare. Charlu papo to zambuling.
Chang dominion.
Charlu papo lo zambuling.
No hwana ju.
So then as the human beings empty out, then the 4 continents, so our human realm exists or is based on like what the outer container is the container of the 4 continents, which is the eastern continent. And I'm sorry, I've forgotten the names in Sanskrit because I'm used to saying them in Tibetan, but Charlupapo, which I think is the eastern continent, which would be literally translated into English as, I think, something like great body. but you guys can write in the chat box, I'm sure, or superior body. The southern continent of Jambudvipa, or Zambuling, the northern continent of Dra-Minyin, which is unpleasant sound, and the western continent of Balangchu, which is the wish-granting cow.
다 뒤인데 뒤에 다 담보트 패치면 다 론 점블링지로 사 맞고 돼서 들어와. 론 점블링지 뒤에 너 방어주 이제 뒤에 장담이 말말 간다. 샬룸파 본지 다 라스트 가서나 장담이 인지 그거래스.
So dambo garere.
맞죠. 론 점블링.
So then the way that the destruction happens is first the emptying out of the beings continent by continent. So first actually our continent, the southern continent of Jambudvipa or Lord Zambuling empties out. Then the eastern continent of superior body. And then the last one is the northern continent. Is that right?
The last one, northern continent, yes. 뒤에서 저 가지는 같은 잠블링 데 디스다 랭히키 나네 다 고니니 저거래 가지는 것도 지 one hand is lowest of 차디 거래스 가지는 것을 이렇게 동해 요래스 쇼첨부 뒤인도 얘네 요래스 뒤에 다 랭히바이나 디스 뇽 요래 배는 장담이 한다고 있나 동해 짜와니는 요 말와 어다 뒤인도 가서 담보지 그거서래스 이는 가서 다 opportunity 가르스는 가서 능이 요구 좀 생들 때는 담배 추르비 알아 때는 능이 들 타리아 다 바나 상지 좀 된데 있기 때문에 당보 가서 능을 해 버쳐 손에 능을 해네 근데 능이 티기 다 타리아 다 타와 담이 재미 고모 드롭도 그러와 뒤에는 장담이 한다 오지 지차비나 근데 고소 근데 그 능이 메디 때문에 휴지 담배 추르비 요소 말와 다들 그 제너럴
So the also sort of the order of the emptying out, as you can see the pattern based on, from the lower realms to the higher realms, is also according to degrees of suffering. So in the four continents, or the beings of the four continents, actually the greatest amount of suffering is in our continent, which is the southern continent, Jambudvipa. So that is emptied out. Is the first to be emptied out, and then they sort of progressively through the different levels of sort of the continents with the higher and higher levels of suffering, or lower and lower levels of suffering. So the least amount of suffering is in the northern continent. About unpleasant sound. There's no suffering actually, and based on this, that's why they say that the opportunity so not only is the opportunity for practicing Dharma really limited to being born as a human being, but it's also limited to being born in the realm of Jambudvipa because there is kind of just the right amount of suffering there. So it's actually a beneficial thing for Dharma practice that there is as much suffering as there is. Whereas in these other continents, because there is less suffering, there isn't an opportunity really to enter into Dharma practice. So it's actually a fortunate thing in terms of Dharma practice to be born in the southern continent.
제가 말이다 산지송 요로와 라임바 산지고 동아리 해버차 수냐 텔레데는 가서 직 동아리 타러와 세야되니 그 능이 요와 텔레데는 가서 타르바 세지 요리스 기지 능이 미는 가서 다 타고야 요 말와 주도고야 요 누구 말와다 도야고 탱게 말와 된다 가서 직 타르바 세야데 가리치는 타르고 그러라도 그 능이 질레 타리아들라 되는 가서 타르바라 is
And so that, as the Buddha said, first you must understand the truth of suffering. So you should know and understand suffering. And once you understand suffering, or once you know the truth of suffering, then there arises the wish to be free. Then there's the possibility to seek liberation. Whereas if we don't have any suffering, or if we don't feel or acknowledge our suffering, then there doesn't arise the wish to seek liberation. There never arises the impulse to become free. And so Tamalagari Labian, I can't read my note. Tarpa. So if there's suffering, then there is the potential for liberation. If there is not suffering, or there's not the acknowledgement or sensation of suffering, then one never even thinks about the need to seek liberation, or one never thinks about practice.
Tene ta techiru tene ta nga zo leng tsabe hyugla kardisana ta nga zo ta jatan lami la ta lami de landa urwa tendu tene lami ne la ta nga zo karsana dongkam de la dola rek chu suyores tene ta dola rek chu ke na ne ta na chu tiwe te sumju jachen de yes ta tene sumchitsak something nga ruk ta u rijilum bu na gangla zigangla yo la bu yorwa oda ti thambo sumchitsak somke mama dan da jachen rigi la ta thambo moto chama hala ya che tene la je chabe hyugla tene jachen rigi la to chama tene sumchitsak som da ya samthan to zole che egres.
So then above the three higher realms are of the six realms of sentient beings. The three higher realms of the desire realm are the realms of humans, demigods, and gods. So there are the four
demigod is born into the god realm.
Oh, so first then the demigods are born into the so the beings of the four continents are born as demigods first, and then the
maybe
demigods,
this maybe a demigod, maybe whatever. So maybe somebody enlightenment, someone this go to the
depending on karma, yeah.
Right.
So then the demigods empty out there, and then the only place for them to go at that point is the various realms of the levels of God realms, and then there are the different levels of the God realms, which are sort of situated in the different levels or sort of terraces of Mount Meru. And the first of the God realms is the God realm of the four great kings. Yeah, Gyalchin Rigji. Right? And so then the next of the God realms is the God realm of the 33.
Karsana tabde gande churga hintu wanji ta koji ya karsa the sort of like nam in lengdi gana tene degi maris.
So then there next is the realm free of combat, or free of of violence or fighting. Then there's the joyous realm, or the realm of the God realm of manifest joy, the enjoying emanation realm, then the controlling others emanations is the sixth of the God realms. Yeah, and that's it.
That thing as that don't come kinala that someone worry. That don't come to the tamaya. Chidi tene hat to tamata to something tambolechi. Tene something tambo de Daya something tambo to tamate tombacha. Tene something nipalachi. Tene something nipato tama tombacha. Tene something sumbaliachi. Tene something sumbatama tombacha. Tene something hibalachi grace.
And then there are the realms of the form realms. So there are these are the realms of the four stages that correspond with the 4 stages of meditative concentration. So first, the realm that corresponds with the first stage of meditative absorption is emptied out, and then those beings go to the second, or the third, to the second, the realm that corresponds with the second level of meditative concentration, and that's emptied out, and all those beings go to the third level of meditative concentration, and then all those beings empty out and go to the fourth level of meditative concentration, or the fourth dhyana, and then all those beings empty out.
Fourth, not
Oh yeah, sorry, not the fourth, just the third, up to the third.
다 여러분이 sometimes som바 같은 지야라 투수 같이 진구를 슬라비나 다 단다 파르케 줄구 세야던 거고요레스.
And so the time period that all of this destruction occurs for, this emptying out, the duration of that period of the emptying out of beings occurs for chudo la yembe. Chugu, for 19 of those intermediate kalpas. That's the duration of this period of destruction or emptying out.
Tene ta ti shugla karsana ata no jikten ta destruction ro. No jikten de la ngato ta chetan te la ugorwa me kinjikpa chu kinjikpa long kinjikpa se ya ji yonguyores.
And then there's the destruction of the outer container, or the physical environment, or the universe. And that process of destruction occurs from the elements. So there's the destruction of fire, the destruction of water, the destruction of wind.
Destruction de Zidita Jigtigan Contambo Meji Chutini in Samari. Takasina destruction de Karchigrisanata Simja Kan Yomarwa, Simja Kayame, Tinanga Jetanda, Nima Be Tsawote, Tanimanga Sungahinima Dun Shargalaguri in a Kandaria, Tanima Dun Dunjondo Tsawo Chane, Tinayan Zambling Tselogores, Samatek, Tinitima Dun Chigris.
So what happens is, at this point, there are no longer any sentient beings inhabiting these the universe, or these different realms, and so then this process of destruction happens. And the way that occurs, it is said to occur, is that the sun becomes hotter and hotter, and in some cases they say that actually 7 suns appear in the sky, and in some cases they say the sun becomes so hot that it equals the intensity of 7 suns. But in any case, what happens is, at this point, the universe is like incinerated. It's burnt away. It's burnt up. And actually this happens 7 different times. So it burns everything, heat burns everything down, and then the fire is calmed, or the fire goes out, and then it's sort of, the fire flares up again and again. There's this process of burning away, and then the fire dies out, and then this goes on for 7 times.
What made canistigris lavina? Tening other something tumble part of
and so with the fire, destruction through fire, this destruction occurs up to the first form realm, or the first level of meditative concentration.
And shoot Jimbo shoot Jonet Kayame Batene, Tezungua, not so the Tsado, Chuna Lo Huyuna, Tatama Chuna Temdo, Shundo Wateneji. That can give me a take the job climate to Tamatene, go back Kayame, Omado Chano.
So then, after this destruction of fire has occurred, then there is a phase of destruction by water. And so the water comes in and sort of washes everything away, even though everything has already been incinerated by the fire, like whatever might be remaining or any trace of anything remaining is then washed away by the water.
Terwa bes the cha chu no lo ba na is.
So it becomes like salt dissolving into water. Salt?
Yeah,
right, like salt dissolving into water. And this destruction of water occurs up to the second of the form realms. And then following that, there is a period of destruction by wind. So then the wind just blows everything, just completely sweeps through and eliminates everything, any trace of anything remaining. And the wind, destruction of wind occurs up to the third of the form realms, the third form realm. And so this destruction of the elements of the outer universe that occurs, just completely wiping everything out up to the third realm of meditative concentration, or the third of the form realms, occurs. This happens in the duration of one intermediate kalpa.
Intermediate kalpa
and so we mentioned that Dripana actually calculated out how many years an intermediate kalpa would be. And so the number of years is this, right?
No,
this one? Okay. So 159,980,000 years. Is that right?
No.
No. An intermediate kalpa is 7,999,000 years.
Destruction.
So that's the amount of time that the period of destruction takes. So the destruction of the outer container, which is the universe, occurs over a period of 7,999,000 years.
What that thing do? That something sumba and you do. Ya chagdu de Hamboini Chagioris. Carbatati, Takarbatomba, Carvacadi Tombresena, Nudinji, Jujisim Chagala, Arkitu Gorbari, destruction, Tene Nudinji can destruction to la, Arkijan Gorbari.
So that entire period of destruction, being destruction of the sentient beings therein and the universe, the outer container that is the universe, occurs for 20 intermediate kalpas. So the beings becoming emptied out occurs for 19 intermediate kalpas, and then the destruction of the outer universe occurs in the period of one intermediate kalpa, which is this 7,999,000 years.
No, this one.
That one?
Yeah.
But what did you say that was?
This is what he checked. What check? Tandela Toro Nishtamba, your Nishtambala, Londegas, yours.
Oh, okay. So
Takaringo was no Jikan Chamba. Destruction of yours. Tene Marmati, Jujisim Candy, Meva Charala, Jurgun Goyorwa. Tene no inji kan cha ba
Idam
chen gor
number.
yo.
So
Te nyam tan jo ne.
So
Kasin
the
gor yo de
number
la.
of years for these 20 intermediate kalpas, being the 19 plus the 1 intermediate kalpa, is 159,980
Yes.
million years. 159,980. Yeah. Did I say that correctly in English? Yeah, 159
Okay, how many numbers?
Yeah, so we
This
can,
non-
I'll write it in the
No,
chat
that
box.
here,
I'm
this-
just gonna write it on the chat box. So you guys, yeah.
Okay, 159
Mm-hmm.
90 000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oda tindi jig la ta nga to di karsena di jig bi karba se ya ta ro
Oh.
is.
Well, it should be that times 20
No,
because, yeah, right?
no.
Yeah,
The 20 already here.
right, times 20.
Yeah.
So,
We'll edit.
so he got a different number when he did 7,999 times 20.
Right, that's right. Yeah, same thing.
Same thing, but we got different numbers. Oh no, Drupon was right. Okay.
Yeah, I did something.
Yeah.
Oda di indu ta distraction charwa.
Mm-hmm.
Ta karsena tiri ta cha bi karba se ya ta go chu is me.
Mm-hmm. So then at the end of the destruction, so there's full no tongbarwa. Tangpo the jikpa gijela tongbare, then tongba gijela chakpa. So chirang jikti the
Ta
jikpa.
tambo nga chu tin jikpa tan go chu this understanding le la yorwa.
Oh, okay.
Yina ta karba chabas. Chaba. Chabas ta tomba neba srwa. Ta tanda neba.
Jikpa tongba.
Or ta injil ta chon la ba na injil. Tini ta ti karba cha ne. Ma tomba cha ne jeg ne. Tini karcha gre la na. Tini tomba la farki ni tanda te londiga stegre. Tomba tongchang kamewa.
So then following this period of destruction, then there is just like a period of total emptiness where there's nothing, just nothingness. And that
same year.
And that occurs, that total emptiness occurs for the same 20 intermediate kalpas, which is the same, that same number of years, 159,980.
Tene ta
980,000.
Ti jela ta nga su yangchor ta karsina karba chaga go chu ku yores.
And then after that period of total like nothingness or emptiness, then there is the period of formation.
Ta formation the opposite. Ta karisina tangbo di nga zo ta something ni peke. Marme something sunbe ke he khang to zo cha. Ti ha chakang de ji pare. Cha ya de no ji kan tangbo cha garwa. No ji kan cha ya de la yang tangi ji pare karba ji ngo gres. Karba ji parke ji.
So the formation kind of happens in the same way that the destruction happens, but like the opposite. So instead of from bottom to top, it's from top to bottom. And it's the same process in that first, it is the total opposite. So like the first is that there's the formation of the outer container of the universe. And this happens first at the second level, or the form.
the tiro the that chayala
Mhm.
what kitchen go grace no jikan chayala what kitchen go
And the formation of the outer container that is the universe happens for the duration of that process, just as it parallels with the period of destruction, is one intermediate kalpa.
that candice chagre lamna tambo something sumpik he council chagres.
And so it begins with the third, at the third of the level of the form realms, or the third level of meditative concentration. So first, the celestial palaces, right? They are formed.
Tene same way, kachigre lamna. Tene something nipa chagres. Tene something sumpa chagres. He council.
And then in the same way, so it goes from the top, the third of the form realms, then the second of the form realms. So the celestial palaces of the second realm are formed, and so on and so forth. It happens in successive order.
Nipa, limbe sumba, nipa.
Sumba,
Okay.
nipa, dangpo.
Ta ti shugla tene nga son dongkam la sa tangi la to yorwa. La to tene ta tangbo karsana hindu wanji ta gam to shot wa nga son ya se ya yo marze wa. Marze du hindu wanji chulga ganden tabde chagres.
And then as it moves into as the form realm, or the desire realm, so the form realms are created, the environment of the form realm from the third realm down to the first realm, and then the formation of the God realms and the desire realms start to occur. And so it begins first with the environment of controlling others' emanations, the environment of the realm of enjoying emanation, the environment of the realm of joy, or the joyous realm, the environment of the realm free from combat,
Okay, that's it.
And so on and so forth.
So what mother?
Oh no, that's it.
That's it. Tene te chawi kabla ta ti yugla karsana nga so ta thambo te chi te che ywa kare nga so long tan zambleng chawi orwa zambleng de khane chagir lavina tene nga so thambo karsana chi long durji jaram se ya ta nga so ti gravity do la wa sarwa khanda chi tene chaksik long pe sawon ro chi pe tel chagre lo sungdo wo chi long jaram tene tiki nangata chik me do be karsan chakbon do chi essence ti gangla tene chu chagres tene chu gangla tene wangjen zar ji sa yes chagres ta tene chi chi tene nga so ta ji ling tanda ti ten ling hi la so ba da uri ji lum la so ba da chagres.
So in the desire realm, there's sort of more a coarse level existence that comes into being. And this happens first with the element of wind. And so they actually refer to it as the crossed Vajra of wind. So there's like the sort of the movement of the element of wind, which creates actually like a gravitational pull.
Right,
so it's
so
like the gravity that kind of brings things together.
I think this the long the essence inside chi tine tiga na chilola ko protection yo sort of gravity.
So I'm not sure I fully understood that, but so there's two levels. There's like the inside, there's kind of a inside of the earth, there's the wind force, the force of wind that which is the crossed Vajra, the crossed Vajra of wind, or that sort of moves the wind then, which is really the essence. It's sort of the essential, it's in the center of the crossed Vajra.
What called this the weir, a center of the weir?
Hub.
The hub.
we call
what
it a low.
attendo jictini chigris the hula that and the gravity kilola yang the melin koran long tini do jisarwa.
And then outside, so based on that sort of force at the hub of the wheel, it sounds like is the kind of wind energy, which is actually like a gravity, like a gravitational force that kind of holds things together.
That hula karsana tanga so 1,000 sayes marima kada churwa chuchagris tan fire la image fire la masong.
Oh, fire la masong. And then
the fire ni
so actually then there is the element of fire, which is really connected with wind. So actually fire and wind kind of occur together. And fire has the quality of creating kind of like hardness or solidity to things. So it really kind of yeah. Or so you said essence, or was that not belonging there?
That is that issue la tanga to sandore in that jetan sachu that consultant by jidin gashi chuchala word and gashi sacha word kanda tini sacha tini chucha that kanda zambling from chat the chalres.
And then there's the formation of earth, and then there's the formation of water, the element of water. And then there in the there's the creation or the formation of the 4 subcontinents, Mount Meru, or the 4 continents and the 4 subcontinents and Mount Meru, the sun and moon. Or no, okay, not sun and moon.
What that teacher what that tini chadu da chayatela tini tanga so no jiten chabas garbaji ngugures.
So this period of formation is the formation of the outer world or the outer environment, which is the universe. And it occurs for one intermediate kalpa. It takes the duration of one intermediate kalpa. Simjin, Nong Simjin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simjin ta chayang go tsukris tin ta ko doru no sarwa tangin yar no nyarwa mewa cha yida mewa chi har no ro muni china ka tombe kabla inda tanda doru nyomo batistin something heavy class to tomatine this nyomo doru no ne something sumpala che sumbane tini nipala che nipane tini tangbola che tini ti hula ta nga to tanda ti Dongkam Kla Yorwa, Dongkam Kla to Tene, Hindu Wanji Lache, Hindu Wanji ne, and Turga Lache, and Turga ne Gandenje, Ganden, Tabde Lache, Tene, that's some stuff on the Rigan Rwa, Tene, some stuff on Kalatozoche, Tertian Rigi Kalatozoche, Yores.
So then, in this case, so what happens is, like when there was the period of destruction, the emptying out of the beings, then what happened is that the positive karma, there was sort of an exhaustion of the negative karma of beings, and so all of the beings ended up in the form, in the higher form realm and the formless realms, and now what's happening is the opposite in the process of formation. So the merit of beings is becoming exhausted. And so those beings are dropping into coarser and coarser levels of existence. So in the beings of the fourth realm of meditative concentration sort of lose, they move into a coarser kind of state of meditative concentration. So they drop to the 3rd level, and then those of the 3rd drop to the 2nd, and then from the 2nd to the 1st, and then they become even more, many of those beings become even more coarse, becoming gods of the desire realms. And so then, from stage to stage the different God realms, from controlling the emanations of others into the realm of enjoying emanation, into the joyous realm, into the realm free from combat, into the realm of the God realm of the 33, into the realm of the 4 great kings, and so on and so forth, then into
that 다 되네 마지네 되네 다 샤트졸리 되네 맞아 하밀레지 요리스 하밀레지 되네 하미네 다 단계 공투가 나이르야 당보대 갈게 요서나 다나 저디 갈세데 장자미니 장자미니라 되네 제 장자미니네 되네 샤룽파보레지 샤룽파보네 되네 노황랑주레지 되네 노황랑주네 되네 가서 론 잠벌레지 론 잠벌레네 되네 다 마송네 다 가서 tunruji 발레 그러고 tunruji 발레 되네 tunruji 발레네 되네 다 되네 뭐 이다지 그래서
and so then those many of those gods in the various God realms drop, some of them then drop into or become reborn or manifest as jealous gods or demigods, and then many of the demigods then are then born into the 4 continents. So first the northern continent of Draminin, or unpleasant sound, and then from there into the eastern continent of Lupapo, or superior body, and then into the western continent of Nupalangchu, or the wish-granting cow, and then into the southern continent of Jambudvipa, and then those beings then they drop even further, gradually. So it's a process of gradual kind of beings gradually being reborn into sort of lower and lower realms. So then they are reborn gradually into the animal realms. And then from the animal into the realm of hungry ghosts.
다 드네 송데 다 지기다나 마 드네 녀베나나 다 심신 찌기나 드네 당가서 네비게 봐다 줘버렸어 네비게 봐 말에 갔을 때 차베게 봤더니 줘버렸어
So then so 가체 공간 가체 네기 가체 거리래
말에 같은 거 기바라 와다
okay.
라자인 같은 거야 돼 가지나 화르케 줄군 거로 와 다니 기바래 화르케 줄군 거 그래서 인다 다 담보들 라텔라 그러 와 녀베 나나 심신 찌기도 드네 다 차베 걸바 줘버렸다
Oh, the first one. So then after the realm of hungry ghosts, then once beings start taking birth in the hell realms,
just one being,
just even one being,
right?
That marks the end of the period of formation.
So
then at that point is the beginning of the abiding, the period of abiding, or the period of duration.
Oda tin ta kachanga choti ta la imbati kebajik la warke tin ta nga choti la zya de kachang chu cha le huina da ji china yang jo huina nga chu dang bo je ta chelo je ting ngo ke changka de zon ro ina de ne je nga chu karba de dans zigi go samarwa yina ya ta nga choti zsa de kan de zigi la wina warke ni hi de kan de zigi la wina de ne bana chabe banro so motambina tine celu jetne matsugiyores.
And so So the beginning, at the beginning of this kalpa, this intermediate kalpa of duration, or not intermediate kalpa, sorry, the second period of duration. At the beginning of that, there is the beings live, or the human, just milo, rewa,
No.
the human beings at that time lived to be 80,000 years.
Decreasing.
And then from that period, from the beginning of that period, then there is a process of like deterioration of lifespan that occurs, going from 80,000 down to a lifespan of 10 years.
So there's the 80 theorwa ta karbatela ngatati intermediate karbatela yang chubji cha ko des chubji jegdang tini ya to ring bo se ya jegdang ma to ring mo ni cha ko des.
And so this period of duration, there's like the kind of half intermediate kalpas that are on either end, which is like, actually they're not referred to as intermediate kalpas, they're referred to as a period of decrease and a period of increase. And then in between those two, there are 18 intermediate kalpas. So altogether there are 20.
Ta dela karsena di katsang de lab yorwa. Dine ma yung ya do go dine zu grow decreasing. This 80,000 wa.
Yeah.
80,000 in the part la. Tene lo nija la. Tene loje ma mewa chan ro grace.
Lo nija? I thought you said loja.
Yeah, no, only this one.
Oh, okay. So in that first period of decrease, so if you think of it as like it's starting, if you think of a zigzag, and so there's the top of the first zigzag, it's like the top of the first line that is going down. And at the top, that's at that point, beings are or human beings live to have the lifespan of 80,000 years. And in that first period of decrease, then every 200 years, the lifespan decreases by 1 year.
Tene ta korani tan dini pola ngatu tela gro hok labdo hok do. Tan dela chiparis ina ko same time dela ko chiran jigla lo ni jarwa. Tan de ina lo jajaris ina konde yando mando gro mando gro. You understand?
Not that the yardang mar gain sena den that the
okay de yando gro yando chelo chune yando tene mando o tene jajarwa ja.
So yang de lep do GT here be.
GT yorwa. Ina ten doya jaja lo jaja. Ina de kare ni jani slow ro yorwa. Ina di ni yorwa di ni dan de je ni po same time. Tu ji kwang go yorwa.
So then following that period of decrease where the lifespan is decreasing by 1 year every 200 years, and then it reaches sort of the pinnacle of degradation, and then it starts going up again. So if you have
10 years
so at that point, at that lowest point, the lifespan of beings is 10 years, and then it starts going up again, and then that period of increase in the next sort of tooth of the zigzag is every 100 years, the lifespan increases by 1 year until it goes up to 80,000 again. And then when it starts decreasing again, it follows the same pattern in that every 100 years, the lifespan decreases by 1 year. And it follows in this way down to the lifespan of 10 years again. Make sense? And so then from that point, there are 18 zigzags, tooths and teeth, and or periods of increase and decrease.
Tene de dan
And then there's a period of increase at the end in which the lifespan of beings again is going from 10 years, a lifespan of 10 years to 80,000. And at the end, the period of increase happens in every 200 years, the lifespan increases by 1 year. So on each end, it's by 200 years, a 1 year increase. And then all the 18 in between have a 1 year increase or decrease every 100 years, and depending on the period of increase or decrease. So altogether, that's the 20 intermediate kalpas.
What that 20 intermediate kalpa tangi lokasi lapsa yorwa.
And so we said the time span, or the number of years that is those 20 intermediate kalpas we already mentioned.
So then by the 18. Tanga to the Sancho na karba seyate lokasi yorlamna karbata londri
so then times 80, right? So we have, because in a great kalpa, there's the period of formation or creation, the period of abiding or duration, the period of destruction, and the period of having been empty or emptiness. And so those four, actually, so there are those four periods, each of which has 20 intermediate kalpas, which makes 80. So the time period, like according to years, like our version of years, of one great kalpa would be 639,920,000. So I'll write it in the chat box. Is that right?
No.
No?
No. Or 0 hindo.
No, that's right.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, you're right. Wada nga dila la imba anati sanju na la karba di la gdwa o karba se ateta lo is.
So this is all to explain that one word in the aspiration prayer for noble excellent conduct, which is the word kalpa. So that is what a kalpa is.
So in a karba pe momodos di na do half of the Tibet karba pe momodos karba pe momolabdos.
But you hear, it's good to know, because you hear that terminology a lot. We refer to kalpas often. So it's good to have sort of a specific understanding of what that actually means in Buddhist cosmology.
Oh, okay. Okay, so 20 minutes. I think maybe one words we can.
10 minutes.
10
minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay, so maybe today just karba. So I think there's questions.
There's a few questions, yeah. So Virginia, the first one's from Pema on Facebook, and I'm gonna post it so maybe you can read it, because it might be easier to understand. So there it is.
Okay, so the question is a yuga, which is the Indian measurement of time, and a kalpa the same? A yuga is 12,000 years. The last yuga is the Maha Yuga. It sounds like in that case, it's an intermediate kalpa, but I mean, I don't think Drupan knows. Do you know the Sanskrit term yuga?
Yuga is Yoruba. You know the Dr. Akumis. you know do do some
So it's sodengidu. Sodengidu, you see.
ale zoden de yor wa nga so yor de zoden se te ti standard ka tian nga so da zoden da la ko wa
Oh, but that's Kali Yoga. I mean, that's the degenerate. That's just that's yeah.
ina nga sta
The
ko be na la
degenerate
wa
age.
tsegre
Yeah.
ina ta di yete ta da nga so kar ba ji bor wa
Yin di yang. So that doesn't translate exactly actually, because it's referring to the degenerate age. And the word
nga so da
isn't in the
zoden la
Tibetan.
zoden la ko da
Yeah,
pe limitless do
I think it's unrelated actually. But yoga chipo the lo chi
khali hu
no the Kali Yoga mayamba the chitang yoga
okay
the lo
how many years
12,000.
okay okay
So we don't know. I mean, obviously it's a different calculation. So it's based on some different system of calculation, it sounds like.
ki ta da di ta nga so di ka sin ta da di ta general ndo ji ris ina yang ko ji yang ko tong ma da ka he yo sa ris tini yang ga he ke ji ta confusing mong bo do ina be na ga he kala gu yor sina nga so de la probe ke number de la de 60 was yor wa the 660 yor wa 60
or 16?
yeah 60
60 zeros.
Tele yang karbaje ri se ano inatri I don't know it.
So sometimes there are different systems of kind of calculating time and different explanations.
Actually, this is maybe best way I understand if it is easy to understanding.
So according to this system, this is maybe the best way or the easiest to understand. There are other systems and ways of explaining or calculating time. And so in general, and they can get confusing. And sometimes they refer to a kalpa being, or to what type, 60 zeros being
maybe
what?
ngato the Tibetan language carriers na the 60 what name yoro ngato nda usta de la de ngato ni 10 million do da tini I don't know the 10 million tini kare de 100 million do million la
60 zeros. How much is 60 zeros in English, like number wise? That's a big number.
In a Tibetan, each name your work up to the 60 like the main
so the Tibetan system of counting goes up to 60 zeros, and each zero has its own name, in the same way that but it's a different, we don't jump with every zero to a different unit of counting, but similar to how we go, from
the 10 million or 10
oh
million.
Novum, yeah, however you pronounce
Decillion. That's 60 zeros. Nova decillion.
Oh, zillion. Okay. Okay.
Questions. She was wondering, where are we in the current kalpa? Which state and which intermediate state? And then she has another one too.
Like, where are we now? Is that what the question is, basically?
Yeah.
That is not the generation to cap the order. That that's on dance and the comment you are now you are not on the on chat the order. On then la that degeneration to cap the order. The thing as a tea call Casimiro to my Hina Sandy Shaja Toba de la Cadu Chomre Slavina, Zonet Celo Jabas, that Lord Jack Muk Titi Lord Jano in Bekitine, Tusola, my Chomores.
So then, Kare, say.
That's Celo Jabala, the 100 years.
So so it's hard to say exactly where we are.
No, we know that one. Yeah.
But okay, we do know. But we are in a period of degeneration. So we're in one of the decreased periods. And from the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, I didn't understand.
Right, so
sorry.
this the Buddha Shakyamuni is the degeneration time, and he was born in like 100 years age.
When the year lifespan was 100 years.
So now I think it sense from the Buddha Shakyamuni. So I think there's 2,500 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the, like already decreasing is like 25 years. So now, like we are right now, we are is the maybe the age of 75.
General lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
Another question, and she said, can there be multiple kalpas at the same time, or do they only occur serial or like one after another?
Really, karba the mambo yor la leng ta karba.
No, do chikbala yong sigirebe. Pena kalpa pena ngato kalpa dang de ngato kalpa nanga yorowa. Dini yang de pena kalpa mambo yang do chik shar sigirebe. Do chigla.
Tende harsegirowa. Karsina koga de karbati ya ko ngato ta lengirera karbati de tamewa yori la yoro tamewa la pe mamorowa. Gahi same time yung sigiri yang gahi kalabu yor sina ngato telabu yori. Pena simjian zo kawaji endo gres. Tsama sanji endo greve, tsama garden je greve sena caution yorwa. Tende yo mari la budowa. Gahi sanji gre. Gahi yata higher something tambo tantene tanda sumi kam chegre inan gahi len himbatne chen res tindutene kotati tini yongzigro.
So yes, actually kalpas can occur simultaneously because there are limitless world systems that pervade space, limitless universes. And so each one, those different world systems may have different kalpas, so that are operating at the same time or start in different occurring at sort of overlapping or occurring at different times, and so actually this connects with the emptying out. So as we said, that as beings, as the realms through in the period of destruction, as beings are reborn in higher and higher realms, it isn't necessarily always the case. Like some might be born, in the subsequently higher realms, as the period of destruction occurs. Some might even become enlightened, achieve enlightenment, and then some might be reborn in completely different far away world systems and other kalpas. So it isn't necessarily the case that all the beings stay in that one world kind of collection of world systems, and then
Ellie had a question. She was wondering, where does this understanding come from? Is it from Buddha himself or another source? Thank you.
It is discussed in the Abhidharma, and the Buddha did speak of it.
Asking, this is all a great exposition of knowledge of phenomenal nature. Isn't this offered in the mandala offering, and that becomes the ultimate destruction? What would Chandrakirti say about this? In the chat, if you want to take a look at it, Virginia.
Dini di mandal pudu, dini di rang pugyu sarwa, dini di mandal pune nune di jikpa dundam gi jikpa dawo di ngachune yaboko. Dini yang di dawa dapa gare lagare.
이나 단단가 좀 멘디 프리아텔라다 공가서 랭디나나
Mhm.
디나 차상 듀디오 including 차디가로 맞죠 로지 오프닝도 지나오다 대푸기 신도 푸기 배샤 푸기 메토 푸기도 라나 가서 디 가스나 가서 limited of mind 나라더니 참말 랩톱 말와 아 드네 베소나 뮤조 베 카리나 이나 코다디 가서 랭디나나 디나 차상 차디거스 not missing anything 드닐 때는 가서 쳐봐 푸고서야 다 조 가서 면데들 그 쳐바리 쳐베나나 차상 차대 원로지 거기 그랬어 되죠.
Oh, okay, sorry. So when we offer a
일단은
mandala,
distraction 게시 피제였어 말이야.
when we offer a mandala, we're offering this world system, like we're offering a world system, a complete world system. And within that, there's all the variety of things that we can possibly think of, you know, to offer exist within that. So like, you know, when we think specifically of say like, oh, I'm offering these kinds of like really wonderful and delicious fruit. I'm offering these kinds of extraordinary and beautiful flowers. I'm offering, you know, this type of beautiful appearance or that type of beautiful appearance. And so all of these are kind of limited because of the limits of our mind. But then when we offer the whole world system, an entire world system, it's like that includes everything we could possibly sort of
nothing missing,
conceive of. There's nothing
complete.
Missing within that. It's complete. The offering is complete. And so therefore that corresponds with, you know, a very vast accumulation of merit. But he said, as far as your question about the ultimate destruction, he doesn't understand because this doesn't have anything to do with destruction.
Mandalas.
The mandala.
Had a question too. She says, where do beings go during the last stage of the great emptying?
Beings kawandu grisla, right?
In the last stage of the great emptying.
Yeah.
So tongpa chatu, the tongpa yorwa, zene simchin sangma gabar dogi yore.
Tandala imba. Karsadanga so something hiban jigio marwa. Something dang tizon doya yarina ta. Natsu dele distraction chabina tini himba distraction chag marwa. What the thing get tambo lap saimba. They party dola jigre, san jigre.
So he said, as actually he already explained, that when there's the emptying out, actually from the fourth form realm or realm of meditative absorption through the higher formless realms, those beings abide. They actually remain throughout that period, and then so all the beings who have been in lower realms are either born there, or they're born, maybe they attain enlightenment, or maybe they are born in other you know, world systems and other time periods, other kalpas, you know, that exist simultaneously or overlapping.
Other planet or
kind of like other planets.
And Lincoln just posted something. Are the times presented according to the time and from the perspective of our world system during Buddha Shakyamuni's presiding, and that the time frames are different during different Buddhas? Can you translate that one?
Get all different Buddha Cham Yorwa. Pena Chachavi Nangato Tingi Buddha Zutis Mandawa Yosaris. Pena last Nangato Kazan Sanji Tong Yorwa. Tene Sanji Mupantaye say at the last Sanji race.
Sanji Mupataye. So Digi this Kazang Sanji Tong
that is love your thing.
Yene yang de Kazang Sanji Tong Gare de Kawa Chimpo di Nangla Yore.
That's not Tomochi on Yadi. In a Sanji Koran sitting over Kahayos is Laimba. Anyway, Koran to what way.
Are the times presented according to the time and from the perspective of our world system during the Buddha Shakyamuni's presiding, and that the time frames are different. I don't understand your question. Can you articulate?
Ask it.
Can you? You're muted. Can you unmute him?
It's probably not really important to ask, but I guess I was just wondering that different world systems have different times and during different Buddhas that are presiding, like Buddhas before Shakyamuni, Buddhas after Shakyamuni. The time frames are different relative to each system.
So the time frames are different for different Buddhas. So for instance, in our among the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate kalpa, the last is Sanjay, the Buddha Mupataye, which I'm not sure what the Sanskrit translation is.
Okay, that is Mupataye tela Mupataye Koran ke ta dujin lo dan karzan Sanjay lo gubja gubchu kurgu.
Okay, okay, so
Okay,
okay, Mupataye Dujing.
Yeah, Mupataye Dujing tela.
Dujing sena.
Dujing sena Koran ke na to Sanjay shacha to bin Dujing lo kasi yore slab krwa. Or Sanjay re kin Dujing lo kasi yore lab krwa. Or tin ta Sanjay Mupataye kin Dujing lo kchanga taran. Tene karzan Sanjay gubja gubchu kurgu ke
Kalsong Sanjay Guchu Gogu
Gubja gubchu kurgu.
Gubja Gubchu Gogu. So the Jimala Kumasong.
So this time in this last this we have 1,000 Buddhas. So last the Buddha name is Mupataye. So Mupataye is the year or spent. Year is the equals other 919 Buddhas. You understand?
So the time period, like the time frame of that Buddha actually equals that last Buddha equals the time frame of all the past 999 Buddhas together.
So that way, so this each Buddha has the different, I think different times, different years.
Asking, when we ask beings who can demonstrate nirvana to stay for kalpas, more numerous than atoms in the realms, it's an enormous ask. It just hit me with this teaching. It shows what real bodhicitta is and what it takes to be a bodhisattva.
Wow, yeah.
Take a look.
Dini de ha kone pena dutsu ja chimbo de ha kone dini nune dinda de nyangin ma dene yena yang simchingi dun dru ngato de soa de be kabla dini pena de chin du drang mepe ki shing ki nangla la sopa dini de han saya dinda de Duzu ringbo re deni nune chini di shuya la di nune di be shua chimbo do re la kyo re. Deni han di jangtube simbe or jangtube simba cheya de la be nune samgi mikyapa yore. Yes, that is true.
That's very good.
The Tirthakas in this process?
The mutikpa la garechagire de la.
Mariti Terawa and the Natsu Tesonitini, Chitan Tanda Natsu the temporarily la Karina Natota, Sempianga Hibinum, Wachimboyore, semjenga hila nyum wachungju yori semjenga hila ko temporarily la tawalok patini yorwa yina yon ko tawalok pat permanent marwa benanga within the one lifetime in nga be lo chungju gang la tawalok pa nga chula yichimi khayame labgari yang tini kale ko chupa chagre be sangji gre wainati tanda labya dena ko di semjen changma labgari ma to be mixi khayo mari sine jetan tertka se yadi ko the permanent zan mari koran ko da nga chu changmaro wa nga chu neka nga chu ngoni within nga chu zamon do tang bin samsang nga chu be ha sa nga chu tertka cha di gorwa be samsam teba hira mewa tene be chunyam ne cheya ken doba mewa le yundi yema chewa yori yini yang nga chu permanent ma wa drink ni yubi no samro ta nga chu chul teba ji chigre tinde ko tertka khayo mari
So actually, I kind of am wondering if maybe you meant to say a different term, but he said so. Tirtaka means like a non-Buddhist, and like there's or some, and maybe specifically referring to those with really with wrong view. So he said that. Sentient, there's such a wide variety of sentient beings who have different, propensities and states of mind. But all of that is impermanent and is always changing. So even if someone holds, incorrect view or wrong view for a period of time, that isn't permanent. It will change, so sometimes, for instance, even among Buddhists, we sometimes fall into sort of Tirtaka views. There are periods where we don't have much faith, periods where our vision really becomes distorted or incorrect. And so really this term could apply, at different periods of time to all sentient beings. And so the main thing being that isn't a permanent state, it's subject to change. And so really, I mean, this is just like they are together with all sentient beings in the same situation.
Right. And also, yes, that every, I say, so this sometimes there's not like permanent because and also this, the Buddha said, every living beings will be achieve enlightenment. So yeah, sometimes, we have, I said, everyone affect emotions, sometimes we are, sometimes wrong view, sometimes we not, sometimes we not trust or not believe in the cause of karmas, cause effect, and so on. But that is not like permanent, so we maybe today is like a bit strange mind, but we can tomorrow maybe different mind. So maybe more faith, more practice, So yes, of course, moment like a bit different mind, different view, different things. But that is not really permanent. So everything's impermanent. So no matter the living beings, they're able to achieve enlightenment. So
At
there's
some
not
point.
specific like, oh, that's bad. We don't have like, or maybe the moment there's wrong view or moment whatever there's attitude, but they can change. So we cannot say, oh, you are just permanent wrong view or permanent ethics, but they don't. So.
So was asking, I find myself thinking about time all the time, particularly the 3 times of past, present, and future. Stretching from this present, is it useful to deliberately gain this view simultaneously as a way to understand the reality of emptiness and impermanence, the rising and falling of all phenomena?
So kong gadi yana de dutu gi korla samlo tangiyo de slagbar de dusum gi dutu pena depa tatawa maungpa samlo tangiyo tini nuni de samlo tangna yapo rebe yang the 동반이 당 메타바 하고야기 치두
리 다 조 대로
드네가
다 벌써
네
디
값은
저타 리 저타 투세야 돼 뱀마시 자친보레스 티엔드 원에 차네 원에 투세야 돼 고지 셀나기로 차디오레스 티엔드 다 저타가 저 투주 텔레 때네 전화라바나기리 고지 동반이 다 메타바 하고그리 디네 저 체효데 나저 투주디 진존로 요바디 하고비나 되는 거 저직 담배 규추 지야라 직 존주 잠야라 되는 거 저 디스코직 장이 효 랩그레스 텐데 투 하고야 돼 개침보리스 내가 나이 투 짜진 보인 바지다 하고 그레스
So yes, time is very precious. Actually, time is like gold. And as you mentioned, to contemplate, you know, the passing of time, or the 3 times, as you mentioned, can help us to gain an understanding of emptiness and impermanence. But most importantly, when we really understand the passage of time, or the impermanence of time, and how time changes constantly. It is such a rapid period of transfer, or a rapid stream of transformation, then it really inspires us to practice the Dharma with the diligence, and we really understand the need, you know, the urgency, and we become really clear about not wasting time, but really using our time for spiritual practice.
Well, I just wanted to take this moment to wish Damien happy birthday during this kalpa.
That's very nice of you, Demelia. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Yeah, I've turned 41 today, so thank you very much.
Right, very good. Happy birthday.
Also, Claudia had a birthday, I think 2 days ago.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Claudia.
Thank you, everyone. And was Milarepa's birthday too.
Right, and my birthday.
And Garib Dorje.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then we are going to short dedication.
The virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all beings. And
so by the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all beings, and samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Dragungpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Thank you.